Hey guys, I'm going to show you how to restring and clean your guitar today. I'm going to use this mid-grade Ibanez. I probably paid maybe 800, 900 bucks for it. Just a mid-grade RG, nothing special. It's special to me. I like this guitar a lot, but nothing too fancy. Ibanez Zero Bridge or something like that. It is something Ibanez was doing at the time, like being all innovative and stuff. But it's basically, instead of having to go into your back plate and adjust your bridge and whatnot and the screws and stuff, all you have to do is just move this knob forward or backwards. Just turn this wheel. That's all you gotta do is turn the wheel. I think what that does is it lowers or raises the bridge. And if you can see the bridge, this is the entire bridge, but the goal for, if you have a floating bridge like this, the goal is to have the bridge parallel with the body. So you see how the bridge is pretty parallel? See how it's like almost flush with the body? You don't want the bridge to be like this. You see how it bends back? You don't want it to permanently be back like that. You see how it's not parallel with the body? See how what happens right there? Well, when you do that, the strings loosen up down here, and you get this. So you want the bridge to be resting parallel like that. If it's too far back, it's going to be sharp like that. So I'm going to let you see a little bit of the grime, stuff like that on the guitar. As you can see right here, there's a little bit of grime, a little bit of maybe rust or something, some little bit of speckled spots. That's probably like some mildew or something like that. This guitar has been through a lot. I used to play this guitar a lot when I was in a little band about 5 years ago, and we played in a basement that had a ton of moisture in it. It soaked up a lot of water. This guitar has also kind of been through a fire. I can't tell if this guitar suffered any smoke damage. This is the first time I've touched this guitar in 5 years. But it has been sitting in the case. All I did was open it up and check it when it went through the fire. So yeah, this is me looking at this guitar for the first time. So let's get to it. See how these knobs need polishing and whatnot. It's eat up, but it's still in good shape. The body's in really good condition. There's no scratches on it, no dings, no nothing. It's just the hardware that needs to be cleaned up and polished. That's really it. Before I get to restringing and cleaning this guitar, I want to talk about a couple of things. And that is a few things to look out for as far as like preventative maintenance and some signals that let you know that you might need to fix your guitar or adjust some things. If you don't know what you're doing at all, just take it to a guitar store or somebody that you know that knows what they're doing, and guitar stores will fix you right up. This is a floating bridge. Floating bridge is basically a bridge that is not touching the body of the guitar. It has these little grooves that sit on a pole, and it lets the bridge pivot back and forth. This is a fixed bridge. Watch the bridge rise up and down. See, when I press the whammy bar down, the bridge rises up. It's pivoting off these two pole pieces right here. These two pieces, and it's held on. How you want to know how it's being held on? Well, it's being held on by the strings. The tension of the strings is what's holding the bridge onto the poles. So if you cut all your strings off, the bridge is going to flop off, and you're going to have to figure out how to put it back on and readjust it. If you have a floating bridge, the way you want it set up is you want, if you can see, you want the bridge, you want that bridge parallel to the body of the guitar. Now, before you go cutting strings off and trying to restring this bad boy, like I just said, don't do that yet. Wait. Another thing I want to point out, the bow of the guitar neck. Okay, this is important. Guitars, like I said, are basically a hunk of wood, right? It could be multiple pieces of wood, and these strings the strings are tight up here. They're wound and secure up here on the tuning pegs, and they are tight and secure down here in the bridge. So that's tension, right? That's tension. They got strings being pulled super tight, like if you tied a rope to two different trees, and that thing goes like that, That's what this is. It's, imagine tying a rope to two different trees, and you got that tension right there. Well, because you have that tension, these strings are connected to this wood, because the wood gets thin and weaker up here, it causes the neck, this guitar neck right here, it causes this to do like this. It puts a big bow in it because of the tension. It's constantly pulling the guitar. It's pulling this neck because it's secure up here. These strings are constantly wanting to pull this guitar, so it's pulling it like this, and it puts a bow in the neck, and it's just like a half moon. And what you want to do is you don't want too much of a half moon in your neck. Ideally, you want it flat, or maybe with a little bit of bow. And I'm going to try to show you what that looks like. I'm trying to capture the bow and the neck right now, and there's not too much in this guitar. As you can tell, the neck looks pretty straight. Like what I'm talking about is, if you look down, back down through here again, this is very straight. Neck bow would look like this. You would see the neck come down some and then back up. So you'd see a dip here around the 12th fret or so. And that means around the 12th fret or 10th fret, you would have to press the string down further to make the note. So if you have a fairly flat neck and not any bow in it, combined with a flat bridge that is parallel with the body, you see how the bridge is parallel with the body right here, then that will give you very good action. The easiest way for me to point this out and to find it on the fly is to just quickly put your guitar on the ground like this, or on something that's not going to scratch, and just look down the neck like this. You see my camera, how it's looking down the neck? This is what you want to do. You want to look down the neck, and from here, if you line your eyeball up, your left or your right eyeball, line it up and look down the neck like that. That will give you a nice even guitar setup. You'll press down the same at every fret across down the fretboard. It won't feel different as you approach different areas of the neck of the fretboard. Those are some things to look out for, and if they don't look right, then you need to get them fixed by somebody, or take them to a guitar shop and let them do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to restring your guitar, and we're going to clean it as we go. It's not going to be two separate tasks. You're taking strings off, and it frees up some space around your headstock, on your fretboard, near your pickups and your bridge. And that way it's easier access, and you can get in the little grooves and stuff and clean if you need to. What you're going to need is some kind of pair of like cutters, like plier cutter type things, something to cut that string really well. Let's see, there you go. Next, you don't need this, but it's strongly recommended. It's a winder. Basically, you just put this here on your tuning peg like this, on your tuning key, and you turn it. It turns it really, really fast. That way you don't have to sit here and do all these tiny micro turns. The most important thing you'll need is an Allen wrench. You'll need the Allen wrench that came with your guitar if you have a floating bridge guitar, you know, with a locking tremolo like this, because you'll need the Allen wrench to fit into these holes right here, these screws, and you'll always want to keep this. Always keep it in your guitar case. Put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in your guitar case. Something like that, because you don't want to lose these. These are a pain in the ass, and you can't adjust your guitar without these Allen wrenches. And then the last couple things you'll need is some kind of microfiber cloth. You can buy these at guitar stores for like $1 or $2. You can buy packs of them. You can get them online, anywhere, but you need microfiber, and the slightest thing can scratch them. So microfiber is the best thing to use. Whether your guitar has a glossy lacquer coating like this one, or if it's satin, microfiber is probably the best thing to use. There's a billion types of cleaner out there. You know, if you don't know what to get, go to the guitar store and ask them, and they'll recommend you some things to get. You can look it up on websites, whatever. But there's a lot of cleaners out there, and some are better than others for different guitars. If you have like a boutique guitar or something really rare, or handmade guitar, you might want to look into a different type of cleaner, a very specific kind. But yeah, for most part, any cleaner will do. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to loosen up our locking nuts down here at the headstock. We don't have to take them all the way out. Don't take them out if you don't want to. I don't recommend it. Just loosen it up. It doesn't take much. Just give it a couple turns, and it will loosen them up. Okay, that's all you got to do. Next, we're going to cut these strings, okay? You can do this a few different ways, but I'm just going to go ahead and cut them. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to loosen. We're going to loosen the strings, loosen them a little bit. Not much, just a little bit. This will keep it from strings of popping you in the face. And next, what we're going to do is we're going to take our cutters and we're going to cut all of the strings except the D and the G string. We're going to cut every string except the middle 2 strings. And if you want to keep your whammy bar on and use your whammy bar a little bit to kind of give it a little give, to kind of push down on it some, you can do that if you want to. So when you do this, you're breaking the strings, and the string tension is going to get super tight on these leftover strings that you did not pop. And your bridge is not going to be parallel anymore. It's going to go dig in. It's going to dig into the body. So see how mine's doing? You see how the bridge, the tension is wonky? This is what happens when you clip your strings and there's not enough tension needed on the bridge. Because there's a lack of tension from the other strings, this thing goes backwards and it's wanting to fall off. But because of that, and you're only using 2 strings, these get super tight. But they're not too tight. They're just laying on the strings. They're laying on the frets right now. It's okay to lay on the frets. But we're going to keep these 2 strings on while we clean the guitar and restring it. And I'll show you, you'll see why later on. This allows you to not have to take the back plate off. And some people stick stuff behind the bridge, pennies, a stack of pennies behind the bridge so it doesn't move. They'll wedge it in there. You don't have to do all that. Just keep some strings on as you change them. If you want to, you can change 1 string at a time. If not, just at least keep the middle 2 strings on and you'll be okay. So once you clip the strings, what you want to do is go ahead and just take them out down here, pull them out from under the locking nut system down here. What I like to do is I just like to kind of do them like that. It's almost like as if you put them back in you're pulling them out of the pack of strings. Set them off to the side. If you hear my cat meowing, it's because I locked him out of the room because he loves eating guitar strings. He likes chewing on them. This kind of keeps them under control a little bit and allows you to see them a little better. Just take it, bend it like this and just loop it through 1 time. That's all you need to do. We've got these things sticking out. You see how these ugly buggers are sticking out? So what we need to do now is we need to take our Allen wrench. We're going to loosen it right here. Basically, there are screws right here on the back side right here. It's kind of hard to see them. They're dark. It's all black nickel and black screws. They're hard to see. But what you're going to do is you're going to loosen these screws up because these screws hold down this little black T shape. It's a T shape. It's like a little T shape looking plastic or metal piece. And what that does is that holds the string inside this saddle. Okay? The saddle is what the string sits in, and the saddle can be adjusted forward or backward, and that's what controls your intonation. Intonation is, in a nutshell, is to be in the correct note, to be in correct tuning on every fret that you hit. You don't want to hit the 12th fret E string, which is an E. You don't want to hit it and your intonation be off and it sounds like a B note. It has this little black thing inside of it, and we're going to remove the black thing, but don't lose it. When we loosen this screw in the back, this loosens everything in here. It loosens the black T and it loosens the string. If you turn your guitar upside down, this little black T piece will fall out. So do not turn your guitar upside down. Here we are. We're going to loosen this first screw on the fat E string, and this loosens that little black plastic or metal T inside. And then you can pull this thing out. And that's what it is. All it is that right there. Just the leftover part of the string. What we're going to do, we're going to put it over there. We're going to do that with all the clipped strings. Give it a couple turns. Pull it out. Now, if your bridge is slightly different than mine, that's okay. They're all made about the same. Whether you have a real Floyd Rose, which I do have a real Floyd Rose, I'm just demonstrating on an Ibanez guitar. But these Ibanez bridges are very similar to a Floyd Rose, so don't worry if it's not exact to what you have. And see, I still have all my little T's in here. And if I turn my guitar upside down, those T's will fall out because they're just sitting in there. They're just sitting. There's nothing holding them down. This is kind of where you want to clean your guitar, okay? You don't want to turn it upside down, though. But we're going to start cleaning. So you're going to just get a little dab on there. Nothing crazy. A dab goes a long way. Not too much. Just get it all over it. Get it all over the body. We'll do top body area first. Get those fingerprints off. Don't rub too hard. You don't want to rub a hole in the damn thing. The knobs aren't on there really well, so you might overturn it and it starts getting stripped and whatnot. So don't give your knobs too much hassle. We want to take care of what we pay for and what we play. That way it'll last a long time. You can have it for yourself, pass it on down to your kids, keep it in the family, whatever. Well, I'm gonna try to get the hardware a little bit. Now there is like some chrome and black nickel hardware cleaner and whatnot, but you know, if you take care of your stuff, you ain't gotta worry about getting, you know, too crazy in the cleaning methods. So just take a little more of that guitar shit you got and just clean your hardware a little bit. Just give it a little scrub. It'll help keep that rust off of it. Get up under the pickups right there. You want to get in between the body and the neck. That's a good little spot. Between the pickups, between the bridge and the pickup if you can. I'm going to get these little screws right here. I got a couple screws I can get. These little slight rust on them. Slight little rub here. You don't want to rub the rust into your body on your paint. But you want to get, so make sure you don't rub off the screw and then keep rubbing into the body. See, there we go. My screws look a little better now. See, that's a little better on the screws. They're black now. They're not that gray mold rust look. If you want to do your knobs, you can do your knobs too. If you got a guitar like me, you ain't touched in 5 years. Do your knobs. You can polish your knob. You guys are watching me polish my knob. A little bit of guitar polish goes a long way. Clean them right on up. They had a little bit of that mildew, you know, ain't been touched in 5 years look to them. One of the most important parts of the guitar that needs to be cleaned is the guitar neck. One of the most important parts of the guitar that needs to be cleaned is the guitar neck. A little bit on the cloth here. And I just lay it on the guitar neck and I do like this. I'll take my fingers and I'll put my fingers in between each fret and I'll just wiggle it on down like that over each fret, in between each fret, you know. I'll do that right there. Give it a good firm rub down like that. See? There you go. That's 5 years right there. All right, well, once you cleaned all that and you got your frets clean, if you got a little rust on your frets, you can get some shit to get that off. Hopefully you don't have to take too much wool to it or something. Maybe you have something that's just like a flaking of dust. You just get it off with some sort of a little stronger cleaner. Just be very careful. Headstock, and clean the headstock off a little bit. You know, get that good. Get around the tuning pegs and everything. Clean it all good. Get up under it. Get on the back side of it. Get these tuning keys a little bit. You know, they might need a little bit of cleaning. Tuning keys need loving too. If you want to, you can get your screws up here on your tremolo system. Screws might need a little wiping, you know. Don't want your screws to rust. Remember, don't flip it over. Do not flip it over. We'll get the back and the back side of the neck at the end. Do not flip it over. And now we can get a box of strings out. So, I like starting with the fat strings first. Don't let it slap you in the eyeball. See how these have balls on them? See how there's a ball at the end of each string? There wasn't, if you remember, when I pulled these out, there wasn't a ball. You can't fit a ball down in there. So what you have to do is you have to take your clippers, and you need to cut just past the thick wind. Just cut it and get rid of the tip, just like that. Bam. You don't want this little sharp thing to fall in the carpet or something and you step on it later. This will pierce your foot. Part that we cut, we're going to run it down in the bottom. Make sure we opened up that screw back here good enough. Now make sure we opened it up good enough. We don't want to unscrew it all the way out and lose the screw. It sounds crazy and you think there would be a better method, but the only thing holding this string in is the metal T pressing up against it, and then this screw that we're screwing in is pressing up against the metal T. It's just being held in by pressure. It won't go but so far. It won't go but probably 1/4 of an inch. You're going to tighten your screw here, and that T will press up against your string. You don't want to turn it too tight. Just give it a little boom. That's it. You don't want to turn it too tight. We're not trying to break the string. We're just trying to give it a firm, solid clamp. A good rule of thumb, since this is the fat E string, it's going to go on this peg right here. But a good rule of thumb is you want to cut it about 2 pegs further down. Why do you want to cut it 2 pegs further down? Enough string to feed through and then catch and turn. And that will, if you need to tune it a little bit or whatever, it can adjust. I kind of go 1.5 most of the time. And I clip. My string is down here on this bridge. I make sure it's locked in. I come down here and I feed it through the locking nut, if you look, there's little slots. You need to make sure the string runs through the tuning peg, but not too much. And then wind. And then as you wind, you want the string to catch and wind lower than where it comes out of the tuning peg. You see this little part right here? This little pricky part? You want the string to wind down below that. You don't want it to wind over it. And it's going to look like a perfect, if you need to use your finger to press it down, and you're going to wind it, and it's going to look like a perfect little spiral around that tuning peg. Like that. I've got my brand new low E. I've got my brand new A. And I've still got my old D and G strings. So, there's still a lot of tension on the bridge, but here's a little secret I like to do. Here's my little secret. I like to go ahead and skip all the way up to the 9, to the high E string, the tiny string. And the reason why I like doing that, I'm gonna show you here in a second. And just kind of keep a little force on that E string. Kind of keep pushing it down in there. Keep pushing it down so it don't pop out. You want it all the way down in there as you're screwing the screw. The reason why I jumped to the high E string is because the high E string is the hardest string to string up on this last post. And it doesn't always happen. It just happens when you're a beginner. So what you do is you string it through on the bottom one, just like this, on the high E, just like that, bam. You want to give it some extra length. So I ain't got any more tuning pegs, so I'm gonna cut it way out here. And this last one's the hardest because the E is so tiny, it's hard for it to get a grip around the post. So if you want to run it through, you see how much I have left over, a good like 3 inches, 2 inches. If you want to run it through, you know how with the fat ones I was saying, just barely run it out and stop. Well, with this, I would say run it out a little more. Make it extend out a little more, because as you turn it, as you start turning this bad boy like this, it's going to slip around the post. It will naturally slip. You don't want the string to pop out and have a huge crink in it from failing to turn this. So to avoid the crink, you want to put it through a little further than you did the other ones, and then give it a good fast wind and press down a little bit with your pointing finger. See how I'm pressing down? I'm pressing down to keep that string lower than the spiral. Remember how we talked about to keep the string lower than the spiral? There we go. There we go. Looking good. The string is below the spiral, and I even have a little edge right here, a little extra. We're going to clip that extra, and it's probably going to fly off into Never Never Land, but don't worry about it. You'll step on it and find it one day. We're going to finally take off this G and the D string, the two center ones that we've left on this entire time. And remember, we did that to keep the tension and holding this bridge on these two poles. We wanted to hold the bridge on these two poles so it doesn't fall off and ruin everything. Once we have finished restringing this beauty, we need to clean the back of it now, right? This is pretty easy. I mean, it's nothing crazy to clean. Just a basic scrub. Definitely want to clean the back of the neck, because there's nothing worse than playing guitar and you feel some dirt and grime on the back of the neck. Same with the front, you know, like just the fretboard. It's so annoying. Now, the last thing we need to do now is retune the guitar. Now, this guitar is set up for D standard tuning, which most of you guys are probably tuned to E. So I am one step down. I am tuned 2 whole frets down from your guitar. So mine's going to sound a little different. Don't worry about it. It's the same concepts apply. Any tuner will work, or if you have one of these little tuners right here, these little clamp-on tuners, these are great. Technology's came a long way in the past 5 or 10 years. I bought this for $20 at a music store. If you look online, you can catch them on sale sometimes for like a deal of the day or whatever, and pay like $5. All you do is clamp it at the end of your headstock somewhere where it can get a good grip on your headstock, somewhere where it's not touching your strings, you know, something like that. You can put it down here if you want. You can put it, you know, where mine is, whatever. Different tuners will pick up better in different areas, so you might have to move yours a little bit. No big deal. And remember, you do not want to lock your nuts yet. Because if you lock this, it's going to prevent you from tuning. These strings are brand new and they're constantly being stretched as we're tuning them, as we're playing them, because they're pinned down here and they're pinned down up there. So they're constantly being stretched with all this tension. So you're going to have to retune frequently, at least for a few minutes, or maybe, up to like 30 minutes woo, that's pretty. As you are tuning with this floating bridge, you're going to remember, you want this bridge to be parallel with the body. As you can see, my bridge is not parallel right now, but listen to it. It's out of tune, right? So as I tune and as I tighten my strings up, my bridge will go back to normal. So here's your little tip. If you think your strings are tuned, they're not. What you want to do is, after you've spent a few minutes tuning and retuning, because this bridge, this floating bridge, has to readjust, your strings still need to be stretched. So what I like to do is I like to pull on each string somewhere above the 12th fret once and somewhere down here below. So I go like a... So now you need to retune, and then retune. Do this 2 or 3 times, and you should be pretty good to go. Then once you kind of got it tuned up decently, this is about what it should sound like. So, 2 more things I'll mention before I let you go. When you're done tuning finally, you lock your tuning nuts down near your headstock, and when you lock them, you don't have to turn it really tight. Actually, you don't need to turn it much at all. Just make it where they're just a little snug. They won't be anywhere near as tight as what you did down below on the bridge at the very beginning when you inserted your string into the bridge with a little T metal part. It won't be anywhere near as tight as that. So just make it snug, and that's all you got to do. That sometimes that might adjust how the string is tuned. It might make it go a little sharp or a little flat. So different guitars act different ways. So you might have to. You'll see how you'll have to adjust it. It's kind of finicky. But that's what happens when you have a Floyd Rose or floating bridge system, whatever you want to call it. Once they get locked in and they're in tune, they stay in tune. The last tip I'll give you, this is very important, to prolong your gear and to make things stay clean and shiny and performing well, always just take a dry rag and wipe down your guitar neck where the frets are in the fretboard. Wipe down the back of the neck. Wipe down your bridge. You don't have to do anything hard. Just kind of rub over it. Just rub over your bridge. Rub over like where your strings are a little bit, maybe your pickups area. Just rub over that with a dry microfiber cloth. That's all you got to do. Just do that before you put it up, and everything will last longer. You'll have less rust and less buildup on your hardware and your strings and your wood and everything. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, give me a like, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos on how to play guitar and how to use your gear correctly and stuff like that, just hit the subscribe button down below. I greatly appreciate it. But yeah, if you got any questions, if there's anything I missed, anything else you want me to go over, just drop a comment below. Send me a message on Facebook, or however you might be able to know how to get in touch with me. You can also see me on Twitch sometimes. I stream. I'm usually playing video games. So if you want my Twitch account, just ask me. I don't give that out. Thanks for watching the video, guys. We'll see you next time.